Alright guys, so I just watched UFC 305, it just wrapped up. Dricus Plessis beat Israel Adesanya in a pretty good fight. It was very, very interesting, and in this video I want to talk about this fight. I want to talk about the Kai Kara France and Steve Erceg fight, the Dan Hooker fight, and lastly the Tai Tuivasa and oh my god, I almost said Derek Lewis, but Jairzinho Rozenstruik fight. And yeah, let's just get right into the main event. And Israel Adesanya, after being out of the cage for basically 11 months, he looked great. Like, he was able to defend the takedowns with Dricus Plessis. He gained a lot of weight. He gained a lot of weight for this fight. Apparently he was like bulking up close to 230 pounds. And it showed, like, he was strong. He was able to get back up to his feet. And on the feet, it was as expected. Like, he was piecing up Dricus Plessis, landing his body kicks, landing his leg kicks. He was standing his ground, which is incredible. I wish he did that more against Strickland. But it's great that he did it in this fight. He wasn't getting bullied. He was standing his ground, staying in the center of the octagon. And he was lighting Dricus Plessis up with some nasty body shots. He was getting in range and just blasting him. He was controlling the distance very well. And one thing he didn't really do as well because of what Dricus did. He didn't really intercept Dricus with any punches because Dricus was being smart with his blitzes. He wasn't really leaving himself open. He knows the danger of Israel Adesanya's counter-striking. So he made the adjustment. He would mix it up. Sometimes he would just go in with just a single jab. Sometimes he'll mix it up and go for a blitz. Sometimes he would just go for kicks. And he had a great game plan, and I thought that Adesanya was winning the fight. I thought it was, 2-1 in favor of Adesanya going to round 4. And round 4, I thought that Israel was winning that round. I thought that Israel won the first round, based on just damage. He was able to cut up Dricus Plessis for jab, near, just above his eye. And, yeah, he was landing some really good kicks, controlling the distance very well, evading Dricus' shots, and defending the takedowns. And then in the second round, I gave it that to Dricus. I think that Dricus was able to take him down and control him a bit more, landing a couple of his punches. And in round 3, Israel was, he was winning that round. Like, he was landing some nice uppercuts, two-piece combinations. It was great. And then in the 4th round, it was more of that, and it looked like Israel was potentially gonna stop Dricus because Dricus was really breathing really heavy. He's a big guy, right? He uses a lot of energy, and it's hard to be able to go 5 rounds while being as explosive and as big as Dricus Plessis is. But in the 4th round, Israel Adesanya, it looked like he was slowing down a bit, and Dricus was able to clip him with a few shots, clean shots, because Israel's main defense is his footwork or his head movement. And when you kind of take that away, he doesn't really bring his hands back up to his face. And he was kind of turning his back towards Dricus, and Dricus kept following him. And he was able to clip him. And also, Israel, whenever you're pressuring him, as another form of defense is potentially going into a clinch as your opponent's coming towards you to force a reset. But since Dricus has a grappling advantage, and this isn't really kickboxing, you can't do that. There's the wrestling aspect and the jiu-jitsu. You can't do that, so Israel wasn't able to use that for his defense. And I think that's pretty problematic. I wish he developed a Muay Thai clinch game, but it is what it is. But I think that Israel's biggest downfall wasn't about him getting emotional. It wasn't about, something that happened in the fight. It's the fact that he came in too big, in my opinion. I think that he bulked up a little bit too much, because to me, he looked a lot slower than he did, in some of his previous fights, against Pereira. He wasn't getting, caught with some of those sloppy punches, that Dricus was throwing on him. He was untouchable. You would barely see him get hit clean. But with Dricus, you could see, he was getting hit, and, I was like, wait, how is this happening? Dricus is very, very slow. No disrespect to Dricus, but I feel like Adesanya was just too slow. Yes, he was strong. Yes, he was able to take the punches and, take and get back up to his feet, and defend the takedowns. But I just think that his feet were too slow in there. I think that the weight kind of messed up his cardio too, because it seemed like he was getting tired in like the second or third round. And so was Dricus, but that was because Israel was able to defend the takedowns and, land those nasty body shots. So I think that if he can just defend, if he was able to come in much lighter in this fight and come in at his usual weight instead of bulking up to 230 pounds, I think he could have beat Dricus du Plessis. I honestly think he could have, and I don't think Dricus would have landed a glove. The grappling would have probably been a bit more interesting, but Israel did show the ability to survive early on. But either way, congrats to Dricus du Plessis, and I'm glad they settled their beef. Now they're on good terms. There's no more beef. There's no more need to talk about this. Whoever is real African, they're both Africans. They settled the beef, and yeah, they're all good. But then there was Kai France knocking out Steve Erceg in the first round. I thought that Steve Erceg was going to be able to beat Kai France by decision. I thought he'd be able to, control the distance a bit better, land his jabs, land his, pokes to keep Kai France at his distance. But, Kai France was very explosive, and he's a guy with a bunch of experience. He was able to make the adjustments and just put Steve Erceg down. And Steve Erceg, I saw his last fight against Pantoja, he looked great. But, in MMA, styles do make fights. You can, look really good and potentially beat one guy, but then a guy who might not be, as well-rounded could still beat you. It's just all about the styles. But that's a great win from Kai Kara, and I think he should fight Pantoja next. And then Dan Hooker beat Mateusz Gamrot. He didn't look too bad in there. He was able to defend the grappling of Mateusz Gamrot for the most part. Gamrot, his problem is he just didn't do much with his takedowns, and I think his chin's maybe not the most solid, and Hooker was hurting him in certain points. But in the first round, Gamrot did drop Hooker as he was stepping in with a big punch. But it was a good performance from Dan Hooker. He just walked through everything and just took the fight to him, and that was a good performance from him. And I think the UFC could probably do him versus Justin Gaethje next. So I think that would be a really good fight. And then Tai Tuivasa lost to Rozenstruik, and that's tough for Tai. I think this is his 5th loss in a row. And I think it's just the basics maybe for him. I don't know. But for Jairzinho, I'd like to see him fight Derek Lewis next. I think he's one of the few heavyweights that he hasn't fought yet. But that was a good performance from him. But overall, this was a really good card.